Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel Political Science by Dr. Markhan. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is globalization. Globalization has become a kind of a panacea for human civilization. Globalization has become a part and parcel of everyone's life. So it is the right time we must know about globalization. Though there are lots of debates and arguments, but let us summarize all these debates and arguments to know what exactly is globalization. So when we talk about globalization, I'll be bringing you on 6 parameters on globalization. First is introduction, then we'll be talking about origin, then I'll be talking about definitions, then I'll be talking about overlapping themes and concepts of globalization, and then dimensions of globalization, and then finally conclusion on globalization. Now, let us start with the first one. What is an introduction on globalization? Globalization is a multi-dimensional process. Since the end of the 1990s, globalization has come to redefine the post-Cold War world, which rightly witnessed the breakdown of the Soviet Union. From the very beginning, globalization has been regarded as a force and a process which has brought a new age. The contemporary phase of globalization reflects acceleration, interconnectedness, and standardization. But globalization is not to be understood as uniform, uncontested, and one directional. Therefore, we need to view a comprehensive picture of globalization by looking at both the beneficiaries, victims, and the people who are caught in between its unfolding process. This is a kind of a very, very complicated process, right? So, the problem is that there is no precise definition of globalization till date. The term globalization was not in use both in academic literature and in general English till late 1980s. Normally, internationalization was mostly in use in academic circles. Globalization is basically brought about by massive technological revolutions, which become a key factor in the expansion of international business and investment. Hence, globalization consists of a conglomeration of literature which covers political, economic, sociological, cultural, and technological fields. As I have told you, that globalization is a multi-dimensional process. Right. Now, in 1992, Marshall McLuhan, who coined the term global village, envisaged a situation in which information traveling at electronic speeds would replace language with instant non-verbal communication, creating an all at oneness. He is thinking that world will become a global village, and that has become. This will lead to a globalized world, as is said, which will have no boundaries in fact. But sociologists were highly skeptical about the globalization. I debate of the early and mid 1990s, which spoke about the global impact of modernity. The idea that the historical course of modernity moved towards one world was considered fatally flawed both by academics and policy analysts. They supported their arguments by citing trade and investment figures both from 19th and 20th century. To them, globalization has not brought an unprecedented historical economic growth at all. The shape of the worldwide economy was defined more by regionalization than globalization, and it could be seen from the rising regional blocs like European Union, North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, that is NAFTA. So they don't agree with what McLuhan said. Now, let's consider some of the very important definitions on globalization. Let's see what this definition say. Anthony Giddens, director of London School of Economics, then said, globalization can, does, be defined as the intensification of worldwide social relations which link distant localities in such a way that local happenings are shaped by events occurring many miles away and vice versa. I think that's a fact what Professor Giddens said. Next definition. It was given by Frederick Zemson, professor of literature at Duke University. He said, the concept of globalization reflects the sense of an immense enlargement of world communication as well as of the horizon of a world market, both of which seem far more tangible and immediate than in earlier stages of modernity. Fact, that's a fact. Next definition. It was given by David Held, professor of political science at London School of Economics. He said, globalization may be thought of as a process or a set of processes which embodies a transformation in the spatial organization of social relations and transactions assessed in terms of their extensity, intensity, velocity, and impact, generating transcontinental or interregional flows and networks of activity, interaction, and exercise of power. Yes, globalization has taken all of us together to a single point. Next definition. It was given by Roland Robertson, professor of sociology at the University of Pittsburgh. He said, globalization as a concept refers both to the compression of the world and the intensification of consciousness of the world as a whole. True. Next definition and the last definition. It was given by James Mittelman, professor of international relations at American University. What is said? Globalization compasses the time and space aspects of social relations. So from these definitions, what we see is that, globalization is something which is inevitable and we are all a part and parcel of it. It has made us coming to one point, wherever you stay, wherever you think, whatever you do at this moment of time. Now, what we have seen is that while looking at all these definitions, we have seen there are overlapping of themes and concepts. How this has happened? Though there are some strong differences of opinion in regard to the definitions of globalization, yet we observe thematic overlaps while moving through conceptual and scholarly attempts in analyzing all the definitions. Point number one, globalization involves the creation of new and the multiplication of existing social networks and activities. that increasingly overcomes traditional political, economic, cultural, and geographical boundaries. That is what Steger said. The emergence of new social orders can be seen in the creation of Al Jazeera channel, which has moved beyond narrow boundaries. This channel is based in Qatar. It has given a new identity to media in the Middle East, right? Challenging big channels in the US and in UK, I mean in the Western world. Secondly, the quality of globalization is reflected in the expansion and stretching of social relations, activities, and interdependencies. Again, Steger said, starting from the financial markets to the expansion of the networks of Osama bin Laden, the man who founded Al Qaeda, the biggest terror organization of this world, all have come with the help of new technology and economic liberalization. Thirdly, globalization involves the intensification and acceleration of social exchanges and activities. Again, Steger, I have quoted here. This has all been done through the global expansion of information and communication technologies. Finally and fourthly, globalization has created a borderless world with our new defined social interconnectedness. This world is expanding very fast. We all need to understand this. So when we move from globalization to post-globalization stage, we have seen many dimensions of globalization. So basically here, I will be mentioning about three main dimensions of globalization before I conclude. The first dimension of globalization is hyper-globalist dimension. What is it? The advocates of hyper-globalist dimension include, ironically, both economic neoliberals and Marxists who strongly emphasize on the economic aspect of globalization. The neoliberals argue that globalization is a political economic project. It would bring highest returns to humanity. That is what they believe. Most importantly, it would ensure economic welfare of society at large. The sense of economic globalization is that it believes in the expansion of global network of production, distribution and finance, which eventually leads to denationalization of all economies today. That has already happened and we are all experiencing that. The second dimension, that is skeptics dimension. The skeptics emphasize that contemporary globalization is neither new nor revolutionary. As David Hell and McGrew said in 2000, they argue that governments retain full control of the economy even today, and interdependence of states is not dramatically significant today than it was in the late 19th century. The power and authority of national governments have not been taken away or wiped out by multinational corporations of the world, particularly of the Western world. The concept of state sovereignty has taken a new shape, and the MNCs functioning across the world are under the control of one or other national governments. Because many times there has been debates that state sovereignty has been questioned and challenged by the big multinational corporations. But these writers like Hell and McGrew, they do not agree to this argument. The last dimension, that is transformationalist dimension. What is it? People, those who supported this dimension, they say globalization has multiple dimensions: economic, cultural, security, environmental, and so forth. People like Risse, they argued like that. They are emphasizing on various dimensions which are interlinked. For instance, same dynamics may raise standards of living but reduce malpractices and comparatively manage the rich poor gap. Again, like economic or ecological disasters might force migration to a massive scale, but may lead to socio-political tensions in society. So, we need to understand, when we are coming to the conclusion, we need to understand one very important fact, that globalization is multidimensional. You cannot understand or you cannot conclude globalization as a single agenda, or globalization has come down to a single point. It is making the world completely flat. We are living in a flat world now. We need to accept it. With Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, or with all these kind of mediums of internet and communication technology, we all have come down to one single point: we are living in a flat world. So globalization's debates and themes are contemporary, these are ongoing. So friends, I'll be definitely bringing you many other aspects of globalization in my next video. Till then, what I simply request you is that keep watching my videos, please share it and subscribe my channels. I also request you that you should watch my other two channels. One is Dr. Markan Saikya's talk on foreign affairs, other is Dr. Markan Saikya's talk on national affairs. Thank you for watching me. Bye bye.